Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. It's so good to see everyone. Now we have some folks in the building and some folks at home, and we have officially implemented our return to learn plan and started down the path. So I would say for us now moving forward, these are shorter meetings. And depending on how we're feeling about it, I think we could probably move to every other week at this point, now that school's in session, just to kind of check in and see how things are going. But want to get your feedback on that and just how everyone thinks things are going so far. And I can then update you on kind of how things have been going from our end, but would just love to hear how people are feeling at this point on day 3. So with that, I will open it up.
I can start if you want. I just wanted to say from a parent point of view, my kids came home ecstatic, so excited, so happy, didn't really miss a beat. They just loved it so much. And I know we're on day 3, but they are all in and loving it. And I've only heard positive things from other parents about how well it's being run and how everyone's just so helpful. And yeah, Wi-Fi stinks sometimes, but other than that, they're getting the hang of it. So I just want to say kudos. It's been awesome, especially for me. So thank you.
Thanks, Carrie.
Bethany, I saw your hand up. I'll go after you if you want to go.
Sure. So I also think it's gone really well. I anticipated a lot more issues, and we've definitely had some small issues, but nothing that we couldn't handle in the classroom. We know that we have a lot more things that we're going to have to face, and we haven't really gotten too much into the curriculum yet, just getting to know you. But I think overall, I definitely feel very relieved having lived it a few days now and how smoothly it went. So
thanks, Bethany.
We started the day with a team facilitator meeting here, and I said this to that group, but I would say it here in this larger group as well. I've just been so proud of the teachers and the work they've done. They've jumped right in, tackled it, offered up suggestions and improvements. There's always something new and different that a teacher is offering either to do or to teach others. And it's been fabulous. So I'm just really proud of the work that's being done in both buildings. I would also say that I've gotten some unsolicited feedback from parents who have just happened to come across or let into met out front because they're picking something up. And it's been great to hear just all of the differences and improvements that they have noticed from remote learning in the spring to now. And obviously we were under a different set of criteria at that point. And I always remind them of that, but I also appreciate that they're seeing it and seeing it be a real improvement over the earlier, the first attempts in the spring. I want to also acknowledge the challenge that it creates for staff. I mean, to build relationships with kids, so much of the art of teaching is being able to read the audience and being able to identify when a kid is getting it or not getting it or needing some reinforcement or needing a little pick-me-up. And that is just a whole lot harder to do in a remote platform. They're getting better, they're working on it. But I think the very personal aspect of teaching is something that we're really still trying to get a handle on. And so we just want to encourage our kids to jump in there and participate. I keep hearing teachers tell me, it's so quiet. It's so quiet in my class. It's hard to get them to open up. And I think that'll come in time, but it is definitely a different feel.
Thanks, Nate.
It was really encouraging. I got to talk with some of our 6th graders at lunch yesterday, and they shared, like, on day 1, I had no clue what I needed to do, but my teachers were helping me figure it out. But today I feel so much better. And so that was, part of the natural learning curve of things. And I think just the feedback we received that day 2 was a lot more smooth than day 1, and we troubleshoot as we go. And just to share other student related concerns, we've had, a lot of reminders, but of staying on the right hand side and keeping your distance and so on. And kids are super receptive to that. It's really, nothing's been done out of malintent or kind of rebellion of I don't want to do this. But they've really done a nice job. And so I can't speak highly enough of where we started, and the reminders will always be a part of it, but it's really been a good start.
Thanks, Joe.
I'm pretty exhausted after just a couple of days. It's logistically, it's a challenge. I go, I'm in a number of different rooms. Right now, it looks really dark back here because I'm zooming from the stage because I don't really have like a place that I can be. I feel like when I'm facilitating, I want to give the kids an opportunity to stretch out, but there's not a whole lot of room, so they can stand up at their desk, but they can't really walk around. So I don't know. It's challenging. I'm gonna wait a couple more days before I really have too much of an opinion, but just after a few days, I'm pretty fatigued physically, emotionally, mentally, making that adjustment. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Thanks for sharing.
I'm gonna piggyback on you. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
piggyback from the primary perspective, because Nate, when I heard you say how quiet it is there, it's not quiet here. Very much not so. I think with everybody in one room, being on a Zoom, talking, and some people being hybrid at home, and just they still want to talk to each other, of course. So there's a lot of like not realizing how loud you're being with headphones on. It's just hilarious. So I will say that there is definitely a feeling of exhaustion here as well. I'm only speaking for what I know from the downstairs of our school, that these kids need a lot of help. So there's a lot of going around like trying to manage a lot of these just I don't know how to log into Google, or I don't know what I'm supposed to do, or you need to admit me into Zoom. I'm not in Zoom. And I'm like, you're in the room with me. It's okay. So there's just a little bit more panic going on here, I think. But I will say the second day was way better than the first, as to be expected. And I know we talked about this, that every school year is a little crazy to begin with. So I think I just keep telling myself that I'm feeling the chaos, but the kids are so much more adaptable and so much more flexible than adults are. So I need to just tell myself like, okay, if they're happy, then I will eventually adjust. But it is definitely a little cuckoo here.
Thanks, Amanda.
I agree with Brian about the exhaustion piece. I feel like, I haven't felt this exhausted since I was pregnant, to be quite honest. But I think for me, as a special ed teacher, I am synchronous all day, every day. So that's a different role. Some of my kids I see in person, and some I see via Zoom, and having both of those happening at the same time is challenging. I'm also finding that the cleanup aspect is challenging. So by the time I'm done teaching in person and remote, we still need to clean up the in-person so they can go back to their location. But now too much time has passed and I'm late for my next set of students. So I'm still trying to figure out how to make all of that work more smoothly.
Thanks, Sarah. Christy?
As a specials fine arts teacher over at the elementary school, my lessons are asynchronous and they're about 20 minutes. And as I was watching the news this morning, I realized that I have a whole new respect and admiration for people who work in video editing and graphics. I watched it through a new lens going, oh, how did they get that to come in? I'm finding that it's taking me about an hour and a half to 2 hours to put together a 20-minute lesson. But I'm hoping that I'll be able to streamline it as I keep going and develop my skills a little bit more.
Thanks, Christy. Go ahead, Jen.
I have a lot of students that are working from home, and I would just like to say how impressed I am with the families who were able to sort of make the shift from what spring looked like. I was a little nervous that some of them would still kind of feel like it was the looser guidelines, the no harm done. And everybody sort of jumped right in. The parents are on it. These kids are getting on time. I've done a lot of troubleshooting with families, trying to get kids into different platforms, but everybody is super willing to try anything and everything. And I just wanted to give a huge shout out to the tech department. The turnaround, I've had a couple of kids who've already had Chromebooks that aren't working that are learning from home, that have been like turned around in a day. Just everything they've been doing is literally just incredible. So I just wanted to shout out to the tech team.
And to share with that, the calls that I've seen April Thomas and Kathy Sullivan field in our office that are tech related calls, and the way they've been able to handle getting kids back on Zoom and troubleshooting is amazing. And so kudos to our secretaries and office staff, because that is a tremendous help that some of us might not even know what's going on, but they're doing great work.
Thanks, Joe.
I just wanted to give a quick shout out to, I know I have a new role this year as an ELL teacher at the middle school, and I've been working with a lot of the special ed department there. And I've seen them make personalized schedules for the kids, and it's amazing. I mean, it's so helpful to the students, and they know exactly where to go. And I'm sure that was a ton of work on their end. And so I just wanted to shout out for that, because it's making it easier for me to meet my kids and do my job and have them be in the right place. So props to the special ed department for sure.
Just to piggyback on that, having the what's the word I'm looking, I feel very honored to work across grade levels and see a lot of behind the scenes action, and just across the board, the teachers, what they have done to kick off this school year there are no words. It's literally beyond incredible. And I feel like now that we're up and running, I think there's a lot of like, okay, the anticipation was so out of control that like now that we're actually in it, I think that things are running really smoothly. And again, just so lucky to be working with this incredible team of teachers and staff and just everybody.
I'll just jump in. I was a little late and kind of jumping in and out of the meeting, so I don't want to be redundant to what others have said, but I do think it's important to note the few things that are on my mind. I think there is a lot to celebrate. There are definitely logistics that took up so much space in my brain for so long. And then when we lived it, events like Arrival, knock on wood, went really smooth. And we were kind of like, whoa, like that just happened. And we got everyone in and as timely as possible and safely. While the 10 a.m. first Tuesday of the month alarm is sounding, like all of these things are happening and we're like that, like right now, but we did it and everyone went with the flow, and we found kids that we needed to find to get checked out. We lived through a dismissal that could have been borderline like extreme thunderstorm rain weather, and we were ready to go if we needed to swiftly adjust course to make sure that families picked up students. We didn't keep everybody super dry, but thank goodness that it wasn't too intense. And I think that dismissal the first day was a little bit clunky here. It got a little bit better yesterday, and I know that it will continue to improve. I think the aha moment I had for us during dismissal was we knew we would have a lot more cars coming through. What I hadn't really thought through was the fact that for our students that typically ride the bus, that's a very new and different feeling to like look for their guardian or parent's car and then know how to go and get in it, which seems so like silly, but that takes extra time. And I think teachers are just really being so conscious about distancing and making sure kids are safe and getting to where they need to be. And so when things are taking longer in that scenario, I think it's all for good reason and good cause. So we found ways to adjust. The exhausted piece is certainly true. I think that layers like literally layers make things more exhausting. But so that contributes to it. And I think it's an understatement to say that like we're first year teachers all over again. We're first year teachers in a completely different environment. And it takes energy to be so nurturing to students and children, and it takes energy to be nurturing to each other as adults. And so those things are exhausting. And so I do need to give a lot of credit. And I view Brian DeYoung as a superhero. And when he is acknowledging that, I appreciate his vulnerability, but I hear it loud and clear. And so just finding ways to lift each other up and acknowledge like this is real and this is exhausting. And what are there things that we need to change to make that feel better and different? And I think to speak to that too, I know what it feels like to be displaced when you are working in multiple buildings. And so when you go to a school and you don't have an office or a phone or a private spot, and now that we are really at capacity, I know that Mrs. Rorick is experiencing it as she comes over here, like, where can I make a phone call, or where I need to have a chat with a student or a teacher. And so we're navigating our spaces through a different lens. I do want to also celebrate, we have had classrooms need to move to what we're calling FOX dens here at the elementary school. So when a student is experiencing a symptom and the class does need to move to another space, and I have to say, the students are incredible. The teachers keep their cool, and we get students where they need to be, and they really are just not missing a beat. And if they miss a beat, I'm okay with that, because it is different even as an adult. Like, we need to get up and move, and then how do you get your brain back to where you were? But they're doing it, and there's so many things that we have planned for and we're executing, and there are other things that maybe we didn't think about, or we thought it would look one way, and we're adjusting course. So the late start was a huge gift on that first day. I might advocate that that's something that we carry forward with on a permanent basis, just because it allowed us to get everything adjusted and sorted out, and we could enter it with ease as much as we could. So I've talked a lot, but I just want a round of applause for the problem solving, the solutions, the creativity. I'll continue to say it. We really have the best teachers and the best parents around. So thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
Can I give a shout out to the parents? I think like this year of all years, I've gotten so many just really kind notes and thank yous. And it just means the world to be like, wow, people are, really appreciative. And it just is great. We're appreciative of you because we know that this is not the typical school year that any of us imagine. So the fact that parents have been helping them at home get into Google Classroom ahead of time and helping them make sure that they bring a mask and a backup mask and another backup mask, and the remote parents that are home with their kids. I mean, all of it. I just really think like I have seen so many amazing positive interactions with parents lately, and I just really am grateful for that too. So I think that, of course, I love my staff and everybody in Lake Bluff is amazing, but I also think the parents have been extremely supportive, and that's been really helpful for us as teachers. I've heard from many teachers that they've had that same experience, so it's really great.
Thanks, Amanda.
I just wanted to share one more little tidbit that came from my son to kind of give us a perspective into what it's like for them. So my son Ryland is attending in person because I'm here working, and he, I've been really conscious about how I'm talking about everything. So I'm trying to stay positive for him. And so I was like, hey, how was your first day, buddy? Like, was it awesome? And he was like, yeah, it was great. Like, no problems. And I'm like, and then I was kind of taken aback, and I'm like, what about your mask? Like, did that bother you all day? And he was like, no, Mom, it was fine. Nope, it was fine. And I don't know, it just reminded me like, they're so resilient. Like, they're just like, this is how it is, and this is what we're doing. So this is great, and this is, I don't know, it gave me hope that a lot of kids are feeling that way and that it's going to be okay.
Thanks, Vanessa.
on the flip side of that too, I think for our remote families, there have been positive messages and thank yous and celebrations, just along the lines of like, someone had shared that, that the kids were like, I got to get back on, like it's almost time and they don't want to be late, or they're like excited or eager or curious or interested or motivated by like what is happening next on the call. And so we do hope that that momentum continues. And I think that that also feels different than the spring. So I know that there were maybe kids that were excited to sort of log on, but I do think that our increased live interaction is really welcomed. And even seeing a teacher on the other side of the screen is great. I did forget, I wanted to mention our kindergarten screening also happened. It seemed like a good idea at the time to like get that going so we can get our kindergartners in, but having our first day of school and kindergarten screening when there was a chance for rain, but we had extra hands on deck. Parents were understanding. Our incoming kindergartners are as adorable as ever. And I think they were eager to interact with adults and see peers. And so I'm feeling positive about all of it.
I do want to hop in here as we're only going for a half an hour. I don't want to stop the all of the sharing that's going on. And I know that a lot of it is celebration right now, which is amazing and should be the tone of it, because every single group that has been mentioned, students, teachers, parents, community, Board of Education, staff, custodians, all have been amazing. I want to do a special shout out for our nurses. Kelly and Kathy have been working since the spring to figure out with us how to keep everyone safe in the building. And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate their partnership, how much I appreciate their collaboration, their calm, their attention to guidelines, to making sure that we are doing the right thing for all of our kids. And truly, this is possible in a lot in part because of a lot of the work that they are doing and have been doing. But I would say the amount of work behind the scenes that has gone into on everyone's part, from teachers, from administrators, has been tremendous. And I think to just recognize, I think Nate said it in an email the other day, what we're trying to do has never been done before. And not even every district or school in our state or country are attempting to do what we're doing. And I think to recognize that, and to recognize how many celebrations there are before we begin day 3 is pretty amazing. You know, I was sharing some stories with teachers that I saw the last couple of days when I was walking through the building about my first year teaching in the first couple of days, and how many scary things happened to me. And we were not in the middle of a pandemic. And I just have so much respect for every single person in this community, because somebody mentioned it at our last meeting. It may have been Vanessa, I don't remember, but how kind the community is to each other. And by community, I mean everyone, teachers, parents, students. It's not happening everywhere right now. I know that people are on social media. I know that we hear what's happening in the news. This is not necessarily the norm. And so it really is a very, very special place, a very special community where we try to take care of each other. And I just see it everywhere I turn. And so I want to make sure that that's in there as a celebration as well. And one other one, it is someone's birthday today. Whose birthday is it today? Miss Bay.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Kelly Bay. So happy to have you in your new spot. And I do want to acknowledge, I know I do it a lot, but our administrators and our new tech manager, I mean, the administrators that are in different spots doing different work. And I don't want to ignore the fact that with so many in new spots, the people who are even in their regular spots are feeling new because we're all kind of figuring things out. So just a lot of work has gone into it, and I could not be more proud. So in our last 5 minutes, if there's nothing else, and I do want to acknowledge too, there is a lot of exhaustion, and I'm glad that we're going into a long weekend, and I hope that people can take a little time to relax and recharge and come back ready. I just want everyone to know that I continue to articulate with other area districts and the Lake County Health Department. What we're doing depends a lot on how we are doing in terms of the community and the spread of this virus right now, and talk regularly with the health department about our numbers and what things are looking like. We have, as Kelly alluded to, we have sent some students home with symptoms. They have to go home with their siblings. We have to, move the class and clean the classroom. There's a lot of logistics and a lot of extra things, extra layers that go on top of keeping kids in school. And I just want to make sure that we remember that it is a reality that at some point we might not be able to do this, and we might have to shift to remote, entirely remote. And which is why I think it's important that we recognize our remote program has really met the expectations of the improvements that we wanted to from the spring. And I think that's a great celebration. And I feel very confident that if and when we need to all shift to an at-home remote platform, that we will be able to do it pretty seamlessly. And that the experiences that our kids are having right now are setting them up for it in a really great way that we didn't have in the spring when we had to make that shift. And I just am really happy to see that was our goal, was to create a system where we would be able to seamlessly move students between the platforms as they need to be moved. And I think even so far, after only 2 days, I can see that we're getting there to that point where, when we need to do that, or if we need to do that, it will be much more seamless than it was in the spring. And I think that's a great thing for all of our teachers, students, parents, even though it will be an inconvenience. And we understand that, we are in a situation right now where our community, Lake County, the region, our numbers are going up. I'm hopeful that the community can continue to work with us, and by community, I mean everyone, teachers, students, staff, to keep our health and safety a top priority when we're in school and out of school, when we're anywhere. We've kind of shifted away from talking about hot spots, because anywhere is a hot spot if we're not doing what we need to do to keep each other safe. Somebody's backyard could be a hot spot in any state of this country right now, because unfortunately, we're just not at the point where we have lots of testing and we have lots of surveillance. We are still looking at options for that, large scale surveillance and things like that to keep us going longer, as long as we can go. But there are some challenges with that as well. So I would just, for anyone who's watching, or, to pass this message on as a task force, we need to be practicing the 3 W's. We need to be watching and maintaining a distance. We need to be wearing a face mask. We need to be, having good hygiene, hand hygiene, not touching our faces, and keeping healthy for everyone else's sake, so that we can keep going as long as possible. So I feel like I need to put that out there as a reminder. Nate?
If I may add to that, it's a really great point. I was pretty blunt about it during our webinar orientation last Wednesday. And I should just simply communicate that I'm getting emails from community members who are observing our students and are communicating concern about gathering at Artesian Park or gathering at the gazebo before school starts. We can do what we can do with our students here in the building, and we can manage their behavior and how they interact while they're here. I want to encourage, again, families and students, specifically middle school students who are going to maybe be out of the house and not under the direct supervision of their families, to try to maintain the same set of expectations outside of school. It doesn't work if you're going to be, climbing all over one another in the field across the street and then put your mask on and maintain a social distance across the street when you come to school. It's just one of those things we need assistance with. And to the best of my ability, I respond to those community members that are reaching out, but I'm also on some level acknowledging that I don't have authority or control over what's happening out of these off school rounds. So I'm employing parents and kids to help us in that area so that we can continue to maintain in-person instruction.
Absolutely. Well, folks, if there is nothing else, I want to keep us to our time limit. Let me know in between these meetings if you have feedback or thoughts that you'd like to share, or any of our administrative team. I know we're all open to feedback and thoughts about how things are going. But we will schedule our next meeting from 2 weeks from today. We'll do a 9 to 9:30 to just check in, see how things are going. And at that point, we'll meet and see what we need to do. If there's things we need to address or areas that we can improve. So thanks so much, everyone, for joining today. Have a great one.
Thank you.